Good evening, I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching as always, it is appreciated. Our Home Secretary unveiled some plans in the House of Commons, which I mentioned yesterday on the channel, about revising our refugee programme in the United Kingdom and opening up safe and legal routes to transpose and transfer the dinghy divers that are entering the country illegally to apply the regular way by opening up the safe and legal routes. That's what this is about, and that's what I want to expose today. There's some very telling information that we need to go through. Now, first of all, the rebellion has already started on the Labour benches, and we've got 18 MPs already against the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood's very modest reforms. This is the list here. No surprises, a few favourites on here that we should have seen coming, like Stella Creasy, Clive Lewis, Nadia Whitcomb, for example. Now, as I say, these are very modest proposals, indefinite leave to remain being scrapped for up to 20 years, and we're also getting the inference from the government that they want to make sure that the refugee status is actually only temporary, it's not a route to citizenship. Now, we've had the legacy media, Channel 4, already running puff pieces on Syrian migrants saying, we don't want to go home, we want to stay here. It's not happening, you need to go home, it's as simple as. It's temporary and Syria is now a safe country, Assad has gone. But we're going to play the clip now first of all.
Die as a refugee in this country. No one wants to be identified as a refugee.
Why not? Why don't you want to be identified as a refugee, sweetheart? What's wrong with that? You get all the same perks and benefits of being a British citizen, being a refugee. You can use the NHS, state education, most welfare and benefits for some reason, universal credit. They can even reside indefinitely with renewable leave and apply for family reunion. What's not to love? What's not to like? The puff pieces will continue, but we'll continue with the clip.
Refugee is not a citizenship.
You've got citizenship in Syria.
I don't want to spend 20 years in my life and maybe I will die as refugee.
Go home.
No one chooses to be refugee, but we choose to be safe with dignity. And I think waiting for 20 years, it doesn't support the human rights or
what about the children? Our children.
You can go together. I mean, it's not a problem. I mean, you can go together. I appreciate that. Remaining united as a family is important. I would never deny anybody that. If you're worried about the children, well, of course they should go as well. I mean, I've got a heart.
And their future, the children. And we know that 20 years is not just only 20 years, because every 2 or 5 years you have to do another re-evaluation, and that will take more, at least like now 10 months to 20 years, which means like more than 25 years.
So we'll leave that one there, but I watched the full report, and what they forgot to mention, or they left out entirely, is that Germany is looking to send Syrians home because it's now a safe country. So if Germany and our European continent allies can do it, why can't we? The answer is, of course we can do it. Of course we can do it. The scenario is, you'll get this now from the legacy media, they will spin the narrative that Labour are being unreasonable, Labour are just trying to mimic reform. They're not mimicking reform, as one of my videos later in this segment will show. They're not. They're trying to be reform light, and they're failing entirely. So without further ado, we're going to play the 3 clips. One features a Labour MP of Bangladeshi origin, an independent MP of Indian origin, and obviously the Home Secretary, who is of Pakistani origin. They're debating the safe and legal routes. Then we've got one from a Tory, the best Tory in my opinion, Nick Timothy, and finally we'll finish on reform. So we'll get to these clips now. Alright, thank you.
Speaker, deporting families after they've resettled here because their country is deemed safe is simply wrong.
No, it's not. Refugee status is meant to be temporary. It's not a path to citizenship because you want a better shot at life. You want to be in a developed country instead of a third world shithole. That is not what refugee status is for. It's for people that are actually being persecuted, like the British Hong Kongers who we granted asylum status to, or the people who are fighting an actual war in Ukraine. That is what refugee status is actually for, sweetheart. Get it right.
Could the Home Secretary tell us how the government determines what a safe country is? And
Not at war. It doesn't need to be akin to what we enjoy in the West. The West is unique. The West is an outlier to the rest of the world. That doesn't mean we import a third world diaspora from, I don't know, Timbuktu, all and sundry. If we did that, and everybody in the third world had safe and legal routes to the United Kingdom, we're talking between 800 million people and 1 billion people coming to the country. Is this MP actually seriously suggesting we take them all? No, not a shot in hell. They all need to go back.
will she publish the criteria? And given that she mentioned the DRC earlier, is she really saying it is a safe country over there?
The Democratic Republic of Congo may be not what we deem to be a safe country, but by their own standards in Africa, it probably is. So yes, and if they've got a problem with the Democratic Republic of Congo, there should be a lot of countries surrounding the Congo that are safe, and they can... Basically, each continent should look after their own. Europe should look after its own refugees, Africa should look after its own, Asia should look after its own, North America, and so on and so forth. It's the only logical way to do it at this point.
Will she also publish all existing returns agreements so that members of this House and indeed the British public can properly scrutinise them? I have done the reading and it's not in the detail.
Well, we already do safe country reviews, so we would seek to continue that. They are publicly available in terms of our position on different countries, and in fact mostly pass through secondary legislation in this House. I make no apology for a system that will privilege in the future those who come to this country through a safe and legal route rather than those who pay people smugglers thousands of pounds and end up in the north of France instead. And the point on visa sanctions is...
That's a key point that Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, has just made. It's not about stopping refugees. It's not about making the system more harsh. It's not about reviewing the 80 to 60. I'll get there. The 20 to 80 ratio of acceptance to declines. Okay, 80% are accepted, 20% are declined. All right. It's not about changing that. It's just making sure they get here through safe and legal routes, not the dinghy divers from France. And me personally, the first and the most crucial caveat I would make, and I've mentioned this on previous videos, is if they've already been refused status as a refugee in a Western nation like France, Canada, America, Greece, what have you, if they've already been refused the refugee status, we've got no reason to process a claim here because our European partners, our NATO partners and allies, Commonwealth friends, I trust their judgments. I trust that they've got it right. So we can just copy and paste and say, no, decline, decline. Simple as.
Related to the fact that many countries do not comply with us when we seek to return people lawfully to their own countries, and this is just one of the tools that we have at our disposal to have compliance with those countries so that they do take their own people back.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Given the UK's historical and ongoing involvement in unlawful military interventions alongside allies such as the United States and Israel, how does the Home Secretary assess the correlation between these foreign policy actions and wars and the displacement of populations resulting in increased numbers of refugees and asylum seekers arriving in the UK? And what steps will her government make toward proactive peace-building initiatives and the restoration of overseas humanitarian aid, which could address the root causes of displacement and reduce the long-term pressures on our asylum system?
The Gaza-Hamas-Israel conflict, we're not involved in that. We may be supplying parts for munitions, that's pretty much it. Alright? Now, if he's referring to America and Britain and the war on terror in the early 2000s, I don't know if he's aware of this, but one of the Middle Eastern countries that took in refugees, as I mentioned earlier in the video, the neighbouring nations to where conflicts are occurring should be taking the refugees. They're sending them back, they're shipping them back. Pakistan is shipping Afghans back to Afghanistan, alright? We shouldn't be accepting any here. If Pakistan isn't, then we shouldn't here, alright? What's good for one is good for the other, in my particular view.
Well, the government always plays its full part in peace processes wherever we can. We put our shoulder to the wheel on the delicate and diplomatic efforts that are required to bring conflicts to an end. But that is not actually what is relevant for what we're discussing today. We have a broken system today. We have thousands of people stuck in the system today. And we have thousands of people coming on boats through the north of France through reasons that are nothing to do with the British government, but we still fulfil our international obligations, and we will do so going forward as well. But I make no...
So, the people claiming asylum is through no fault of Britain, so why are we culpable? The actual guy who was speaking just then, I think his name is Iqbal Muhammad, a British Indian, he's turned around and said, well, if we're directly responsible or indirectly like Israel and in Afghan, then we have a moral duty. I don't think so. Countries don't have friends, alright? We have interests. That's the way it works, that's the way nations work. If it's not in our interest to accept any refugees, then we don't do it. When the Home Secretary is saying international obligations, they're not binding, they're not enforceable, they're doing it because they choose to do it, they're choosing to be nice. I'm sick of being nice, they all need to go home. So we'll leave that one there. She basically vents on for another minute or so, but we'll leave that one there. This next one's from Nick Timothy, and he's obviously the best Tory that we've got. Not that I'm a fan of the Tories overall, but we have to work with what we've got.
Based on the benches opposite, disagree with us, but I share the Home Secretary's admiration for the Danish model, and the Danish Finance Ministry publishes data regularly on the fiscal contribution of different profiles of migrants. This shows in Denmark that migrants from MENAT, the Middle East, North Africa, Pakistan and Turkey are net recipients over the course of their lifetimes. Will the Home Secretary ensure that the Treasury publishes the same data in the same way in this country?
I want to unpack that slightly. He's specifically making the point there that, on the whole, people from those nations that he mentioned, basically the African and Middle East, they are net detriments to the economy over the course of their lifetime. They get out more than they pay in. Other countries, Western nations, specifically Western Europe, including Greece, France, Spain, what have you, they are net contributors on the whole. So is North America, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan, and I think South Korea as well. They are all net contributors. But when you get into the third world nations, they are detrimental. That's the specific nuance, and that's the specific point he's making. And he's saying that the Home Office should make that data available. On paper, maybe that might be fine, but you can infer from what the other westernised countries are inferring that it's going to be the same pretty much. You can infer that. Her response is telling, the Home Secretary, so we'll get to the response now, but it is telling.
Well, we keep all statistics under review, as he knows, and as was the case, I believe, when he was an advisor to a former Home Secretary. And let me say to him, the principle that underpins all of these reforms is about fairness and contribution. We believe most people want to be able to contribute to this country because the refugees themselves recognise that is the best way for them to have stability and security.
To contribute, alright, so if a refugee comes in, they've not been given indefinite leave to remain yet, but they're working, maybe on a minimum wage job, to the Home Secretary, that's contributing. That's not what he asked. He said we want the data to see who's paying in and who isn't. Who's getting more out of it and who's paying more than they get. That's what we want to know.
In their lives, and it is what is needed for the wider community as well. And we think that all refugees, if they're on the protection work and study route, will have that opportunity. I'm not interested in models that start separating out different nations from one another.
She's not interested in showing the facts because the facts don't support the narrative that everybody is equal. People aren't equal. Depending where you come from, people are different. There's nothing wrong with that inherently. But that's not to say that people from Pakistan. Well, actually, that's a bad analogy. I won't use Pakistan because they know about the grooming gangs. You get the point. She doesn't want to pull on that particular thread for obvious reasons, because if you extrapolate the data for if there are net benefits or a drain on the economy, well, that's the argument to remove them from the country. And obviously, she's a proud daughter of Kashmir, as she's mentioned previously. She doesn't want to detriment her own people. And this is the point that I've made on my channel before as well. I don't have another country to call my home. The United Kingdom is my country. If this goes tits up in Britain, she can go to Pakistan and she'll be welcomed with open arms. I don't have that luxury. Alright? So we'll leave that one there. She's not interested in digging into any detail like that because the data is in and it's not what she wants. They've got a narrative to sell, and it's not that the people from the third world are draining our economy and our wealth. That's not something she wants to acknowledge.
Once somebody has got status in our country, they are on a path to becoming one of us if they are working and contributing.
Not whether they're paying in more or getting more out. That's irrelevant to the Home Secretary and the Labour Party. So that's the second clip. But the most revealing one is the cherry on the cake, and this is from Reform UK. This is from Danny Kruger.
Mr. Speaker, I welcome the rhetoric that the Home Secretary has announced. In fact, I recognise the rhetoric of the Home Secretary today. We have our plan for restoring justice. She's announced a plan to restore order and control. But before she puts in her application to join Reform UK, and I very much welcome her doing so, can I just draw out the difference? Can I draw out the difference between our parties? Unlike the government, Madam Deputy Speaker, we don't propose to give illegal immigrants the right to stay here for 2.5 years after arriving. We don't propose to give them the right to study and work here. We don't propose to allow them to bring their families here. And crucially, Madam Deputy Speaker, we're not going to contort our law to comply with, to fit into the European Convention on Human Rights. The derogations that she announces will not work to stop the lawfare, just as the derogations announced in the Rwanda bill wouldn't have stopped the lawfare, which is why I opposed that bill as well.
This is all show, this is all bluff and bluster. Danny Kruger from Reform is completely correct on all of this. It's not designed to work, it's designed to change the optics. Listen to the language, always listen to the language. When they say they want to shut down the asylum hotels, it's because optically it looks bad. They've got fighting age men from France, not assimilating, assaulting our women and children, given spending money, free food and board. That looks bad. It's not about removing them from the country, it's about stopping the optics. It's like the boats stopping, or like stop the boats, as Rishi Sunak said. It's about the optics of what that looks like. It's not about stopping the refugees coming here. Sorry, the refugees. It's not about that. Do not be fooled, do not be conned. The full fat reform is what you need, not somebody cosplaying as Reform, because Danny Kruger's right on the money on this and is completely correct. If you're still going to be in the ECHR and you've still got the 1998 British Bill of Rights, you can't do jack, and the lefty lawyers know it. And Keir Starmer knows it, and Lord Herman knows it. This is about trying to placate the far-right thugs. It's not going to work.
So she talks about, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm great.
I don't think there was a question in there, Madam Deputy Speaker. As for his invitation to join his party, of whom there appear to be hardly any over there, let me tell him, over my dead body.
It's alright, sweetheart. You're not going to have a seat at the next election. It's fine. It's fine. I'd rather you not be an MP at all. But we'll leave this one there. We'll leave that one there. So, do you think I'm on the money with this, or do you think I'm overstating things? Do you think Shabana Mahmood's plan is designed to work, or is designed to try to deceive and to placate the far-right mob? Because it was only a few months ago that if you mentioned the grooming gangs, you were jumping on the bandwagon of the far-right. If you were concerned about mass migration and the impact on this United Kingdom that it was having with social cohesion, then you were just a bigoted gammon. It's funny. It's funny. Labour's starting to lose all the elections, and now this starts to sound very reformy. I'm not fooled. I don't think the majority of Parliament is fooled. These plans don't come anywhere close to good enough in my view. Now, if you like this video and you think I'm onto a winner with this, comment, like and subscribe, do all that brilliant stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. You take it easy, and thank you for watching.